Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Town Council Grants Committee. Sorry for the delayed start, but we are recording and I think we'll be uploading the recording later on. I'd like to advise everyone present that if you hear a long continuous siren, this is a fire alarm. Please don't pack up your belongings. You should leave the building through the nearest and safest exit by the back of the office through the police stairwell. If this route is blocked, you should exit the building through the main marble staircase. When exiting the building, proceed up the ramp and turn right. All attendees should congregate at the rear of the top car park where a register will be taken. Wait until you are told it is safe to re-enter the building. If you're a councillor, we've added you to the register. If you're a visitor and have not signed the register, please do so. Additionally, whilst the fire alarm is sounding, do not use the lift to exit the building. Can I please remind everyone to put your mobile phones on silent mode and put the phone away for the duration of the meeting, avoiding interference with your iPad or the microphone. The meeting will be recorded and is going to be live streamed later on YouTube. And therefore, when speaking, please remember to speak clearly. As the chair of the meeting, I have the discretion to terminate or suspend recording and live streaming if, in my opinion, continuing to do so with prejudice of the proceeding of the meeting. Recording and live streaming of confidential items will also not take place. To alert me as the chair of the meeting that you would like to speak, please raise your hand and wait for me to call on you before speaking. Please remember, if you leave the meeting for any reason, you will not be able to take part in the vote on the item being discussed at that time. Members of the public will be able to view the live stream of the meeting via YouTube. Can I please request that when speaking, you make your points as succinct as possible to allow for the smooth running of the meeting? And can I also take this opportunity to remind you to be polite and treat each other with respect at all times? Thank you very much. We'll get on to the housekeeping section of the agenda. First of all, we have members of the public here to represent for applications later in the agenda, but we have no general member of the public to ask questions. So we move on to apologies. We have apologies from councillors Sue and Richard Leese, who unfortunately can't be here this evening. Otherwise, I think everyone is accounted for. Declarations of interest. I need to say to this point that I have an interest in the 2BU Somerset application and I'm a trustee, but I have no financial interest in the organisation. Does anyone else have any declarations they need to make at this stage? Councillor Ellis.
I think I've mentioned previously in relation to 2BU that one of my children has used their services in the past, but I see that more as a therefore I have more of an insight into it.
That's fine. Yes, you have no direct interest. That's absolutely fine. Thank you for clarifying. Lovely. Then we can move on to the minutes of the previous meeting, of which I have a copy. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes? And does anyone have any amendments, questions, or comments to make on them? No, excellent. Can I have someone to propose that we accept these as a record of the meeting? Councillor Isaac, thank you. A seconder? In which case I will second that motion. All those in favour of accepting the minutes, please raise your hands. That's unanimous, thank you. Thank you. I think I'll just look now. I'll do that in a minute.
Yes.
Okay. Too many pieces of paper. Apologies, everybody. Moving on to the budget summary. This is just to give you an overview of where we are financially at the start of this meeting, as this is the last budget round, grants round for this financial year. Okay, would you like to give us a quick summary?
On the community grants, there was 272,500 in the budget. Currently, we've spent £203,056. That leaves available 69,444, although 50,000 of that is already allocated to the 3-year youth grant service levy agreement. So that leaves £19,444 be distributed at this committee.
Very much. Essentially, this is just to note the budget. Does anyone have any questions at this stage on the remaining budget that we have? Excellent. I think we still have to vote to note the budget summary, if I'm correct. Councillor Ellis, are you proposing that we note that? I will second that. All in favour of noting the budget, and thank you very much for preparing that. It's really good to have that as an overview. So moving on to item 5, donation funding. Members to consider a motion to move monies from the donations grants pot to the general grants pot for this financial year. So bearing in mind, you just heard that the general grants pot is £16,000. There is £2,500 in that small grants donations pot. We have no applications for donations in this round. If we don't transfer it, it could roll over to next year. However, we have an excess of applications for this round. So it was my suggestion that we move that money across to be distributed this year. I'm formally proposing that. Councillor Ellis is seconding that. All in favour of moving the money across to the grants pot? Thank you very much. That is unanimous. So as Gail stated, that would give us a total of £19,444 to distribute this round. And then we get on to the order of the day. We're going to rearrange the order slightly so that we can hear from the members of the public who have come today to present their applications. So just to check that we have representatives from Kickik and the People's Plot. Is that correct? Lovely. So if we hear from Kickik first, is that Richard?
Yeah.
Lovely.
So we've put in an application for a very ambitious project, but a very exciting project, which looks at creative writing as an art form which is highly accessible. When I say exciting, I think highly accessible is the fact that it is the written word. It doesn't require a specific space to do this. We're looking at rolling out a program across all the local schools. So schools involved, and over 600 young people. So the actual investment is, equivalent to about £3.5 per young person, which I think is a major, valued investment for young people. Personally, I think it also is supported from the work that we've been doing through the LCN, and also through the youth research that we've done in previous council, Somerset West and Taunton, looking at where there are gaps in provision. So this would combat potentially urban and rural isolation of young people, so they can access online a creative writing project, which would be serviced by the Somerset Literacy Network, which is a well-known network across all the schools. It would also buy a specialist coordinator called Matt Bryden, who's also the Royal Fellow of Exeter University. So the quality of what you're investing in for our young people in. I also put in that application that there was a potentially conflict of interest with another councillor, Vanessa Garside, in the support of the International Arts Festival coming up in September, because it links into that. So if we can get this running, we can then feed this out across 80 other countries, which allows our young people to connect in a safeguarded environment, a connection from right around the world. And I think some of us probably remember, pen pal, a thing that we used to do back in the old days. But this is about bringing connections, allowing young people to connect, whereas they would not potentially normally be able to do that, and also promote a fantastic art form in poetry and creative writing. So I sort of commend that proposal to the grants committee.
Thank you very much. Do I have any questions from the panel? Councillor Ellis.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, it's just about, I'm trying to imagine it working in practice.
Yes.
So say that I'm not in school, say I'm a home educated young person, there's a website that I would
Yeah.
go to, and it would, what, talk me through what my,
So
What's it
I'm thinking schools and but from home education, young people, I think that could easily be, filtered through the various organisations that we have in place on Go Career, Caroline. So we could, it's not exclusive, it's inclusive. Its intention is to be as broad as it possibly can. The Sunset Literacy Network would allow, from a, I think that's the big question I would imagine people have, is about the safeguarding aspect of this and opening up online activity for young people, which is really, really important that is well stewarded, and that's that people that are qualified to interact at that level with young people is actually paramount within that delivery. I don't know if that answers your question.
I'm just kind of trying to get the nuts and bolts. So it's online. Is it like a Zoom thing that you sign up to?
Yeah,
And then it's like a sort of session where you have somebody talking about, oh, these are the incredible things you can do with poetry if you try doing a fantastic poem.
in the application. So Matt is talking about going to each school and delivering for I think over 600 young people this particular project and coaching them on how they interact with that online piece of work. Yeah, so a young person might say, right, actually I've got a brief which is We Own It, which is the name of the project, and write a piece of work based upon that brief and sort of say, right, I want to share that. This is what I think about where I live. This is my ideas, not yours and mine. And I think that's a really healthy thing for young people to have a voice, to be heard in our community, but in a very safe way. And we don't have to go and sit in a room and try and perform for people, although we can accommodate that. But I think it's really nice for them to see themselves in their own community, and that's how that would work.
Okay, so you get a visit from Matt Bryden.
Yeah.
And he talks to what age, presumably it's a set age of, don't answer that now. So he comes in and says, look, we've got this project called We Own It, and it's going to be your chance to have your say about how you feel about stuff. And we're looking for you to just write down or whatever.
Yeah, so it's creating, similar genre. There might be a piece of music, it might be
It could be anything.
But in this particular context, it's about creative writing, which is a way to communicate creative ideas. I think the structure of it is more like a lesson plan, and how do you go about writing something about yourself, work that we've done in the past with Hewitt, for example, is lyric writing. It's like, how do you put lyrics with music and things like that? So it's got that sort of, the ability to become quite a broad piece of work. And it talks about legacy here, because I think it's also about connecting our young people up and having a platform to be able to allow them to talk to each other. And I mentioned earlier on in the introduction that this is born out from some research that we did some time ago at Sunset Western Taunton, which is looking at where those communities are, and then your online communities, of young people, and that's their peer groups. And this is outside of school, so what happens after school? And this allows them to be able to have a positive conversation beyond that, traditional, statutory delivery of education.
And so you upload, you have a visit and you kind of get, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to write something. So
Yeah.
maybe write some lyrics or just a piece of anything. It could be prose, it could be poetry, potentially, or lyrics, whatever it is. And then you upload it.
Upload that, yeah.
And then there's somewhere where you can see who else has, you can see
Yeah.
that, oh, so and so's uploaded this here, and you can access what they've put up here.
That's not true.
And then, so where is all this hosted? Is it on
So this is
so,
on- Sorry. Geo locating, so you can see the from. It may be in the Taunton area, but from the international point of view, you might be looking at poetry, from Poland, from and and it's sort of on an educational level. I think that is fantastic to be able to do that. So that work is, should have brought Matt Price really. It's his work that he's done before through the Somerset Literacy Network, but it's been more across county and for only schools that can afford it. And I did it quite specifically because of the work that we do, Creative Innovation Centre and Go Create, is for it to be inclusive to our community. Is the thing that we're focused on, these young people, and allowing them creative or access to creative process and creative platforms.
sorry, me again.
One more quick one.
Is it, so it's all of the schools into, is it primary and secondary?
Just second.
Oh, just
So yeah, I was going to jump in because I just wanted to clarify that obviously you're applying to us and the application says you haven't applied to anyone else for funding, so
No.
it's purely just us. But some of the schools are outside Taunton and they also include public schools. Just checking because you tick boxes saying that this is accessible to people from minority groups or disadvantaged people, but several of the schools are fee-paying public schools that are outside our catchment.
To be inclusive.
I'm just trying to clarify in terms of where our money's going. So at least two of the schools are outside Taunton, is that right? It includes Kingsmead and Courtfields in Willesden and Wellington. Was it Chard as well? Did you include Chard, or was it just the Taunton Deane Old Taunton area? Yeah. So it's still outside our purview, as is Moncton.
Yeah, with Moncton, a lot of the kids are going to live in.
Yeah.
They will have kids who live in Taunton going there, won't they?
Yeah.
So it's, hang on, let me just remind myself. Castle School, Bishop Boxes, is it Perlham what it's called now?
Yeah.
And Heathfield, those are the state ones, aren't they? Got School Queens, Kings, and then the others are Kingsmead, Courtfield.
Yes.
Those are the other ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds like a correct summary.
Yeah, maybe what's still that, but it might be a recommendation that it is only, the funding is only for specific schools within the boundary.
I'm just aware that obviously we are the town council and we're looking at a project that's considerably wider than Taunton. Just wanted to clarify that for the panel. Whereas we've taken up quite a bit of time just discussing this one, so unless you've got any other burning questions not covered by the application, Councillor Ellis.
I think it's great. So I'm asking questions because I'm just trying to really get a really good handle on it, because I think this could be very popular and I think it could be really, really great. I'm maybe just thinking of year sort of sixes. Sort of, if you include the home ed community, and you wouldn't need to spend much extra doing that, that'd be great. And that would also reach people who are, they might not be electing home educators out of school, but they come to the home ed lot because that's like, well, there's nothing else out there for them. We're the only people who want anything. You could do year sixes for some of the local schools, maybe.
Yeah,
Is that? I mean, I know if you've got the forum, you could do something maybe around that.
very easy to the primary schools and then love to do it. But I'm thinking about the budget, but there may be the recommendation is that some of those schools that I've listed aren't actually within the domain of this the town council. So it might be the recommendation is to give some of that funding towards accessing home ed and primary school. I think it's more about time. If you look at the detail, it's more about time of that going to the schools and delivering it.
Okay. I suspect we've probably got enough information to make an educated decision. So thank you very much. We're going to be deciding on all of the applications at the end once we've considered all of the various information. So you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to reclaim the rest of your evening if you'd like to. We'll be moving on to the next application.
I was just saying that again, great. To represent Go Create as well.
Okay, we will come back to that in a moment. Thank you for pointing that out. In which case, we will move on to the application from Taunton or the People's Plots.
Hi, thank you, members. I moved around because I managed to strategically put myself behind a column and which is incredible. So my name's Dudley. I'm one half of the people who run the People's Plot, which is a voluntary group set up to reconnect people with a productive landscape. And the biggest thing that we do is create one-day food and drink festivals aimed at primary producers, growers, makers, fermenters, brewers, and creatives from within 30 miles of the town. We're asking for support for Eat Taunton in May, which is the Somerset Day event. You gave us support previously in 2023, and we supplied some numbers about what impact that made. So your grant of just over £2,500, just under £2,500 then generated £737,000 of local economic impact on the day. That's through spend in the town, overnight stay, travel, car parking, spend at the festival, spend in other businesses as well, using the Visit Britain data. That's a 300 multiplier. So £1 of your investment generated just over £300 worth of impact. Breaking that down with your precept, that was 0.04 pence per resident per festival, significantly less than 16 pence per resident for the Armed Forces Day that you also support. Looking at your corporate plan, where you really nicely use a picture of our festival to promote the work that you do locally. You talk about creating a prosperous town to support and improve the Christmas experience in Taunton and enhance the Christmas market offer. We've reacted to the feedback that members have given us that you don't want Eat Taunton to happen in December, and it won't be happening in December 2025. You've lost the biggest Christmas market in Somerset. We've done what you've asked us to do. You said you didn't want it, we've stopped it. You wanted to engage in the community, that's where you use the picture of our event. We create a vibrant culture, producing a grants and funding programme to create an events programme throughout the town. Eat Taunton is just over half a mile long, stretching from the Minster, who we've worked with since we rapidly outgrew Castle Green at the start of the festival here several years ago, all the way down to the Market House. No market there anymore, up through 4th Street and East Street, all the way up to the top. What we do is provide not only a fantastic day's trade for those 100+ producers that we work with, but also for your local businesses. And at the last grant meeting I came to, almost the same date last year, you were very challenging around the amount of feedback that we get from local businesses. And once again, in the last calendar year, we visited every business and resident within the footprint 4 times, checking with them around their access requirements, deliveries, carers, access, such like, to make sure that we're creating an event that works for them. And boy, did we see that at the December event. A massive increase in footfall in the town, people reporting best day's trade ever, that they hadn't seen Taunton that busy in years. Your own footfall data shows a massive increase when Eat Taunton happens in May and previously in December. So we've looked again at our numbers and asked you to support the May event this year. And we hope that you look at that as a sponsorship opportunity. I appreciate you've got a limited sponsorship budget this year, but I also noticed on the budget that, oh, sorry, on the agenda that you may be calling back in some funding for an event that didn't happen. So that may well change in the same way as you've moved money around already this meeting. We've really enjoyed working in Taunton. We came here because you asked us to. We were working in Wellington. We wanted to create an event for Somerset Day. You've got the biggest event of Somerset Day, but it's incredibly expensive to work here. It's a very complicated road closure, requires a lot of stewarding, and it's a large geographic area which requires a lot of entertainment to increase that dwell time and to make sure people make a day of it, and that it becomes a destination not only for your residents but also for visiting friends and family and tourists. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do I have any questions from the panel? I think I have questions in advance from Gail.
Yeah. Can I just ask some questions about your financial data? You supplied it with your balance sheet, but unfortunately that doesn't balance, which is what I normally expect to see. It seems to be a 12,100 deficit or difference on the liability side. Does that how's that covered? Is that from your members?
We provided data up until November and then read that for December for you. It was the first time we presented our financial report in that way, and so we did our best. And we just reached the year end now, and we're seeking some professional support to help us produce our accounts better. In terms of 2023, that was a challenging year for us. But coming out of COVID, footfall was down. We continued to subsidise many traders to help them get to events and make sure that they could trade. So I think that that year ran at a loss. And yeah, that, or to put it bluntly, Sarah and I chip in on that. We run a voluntary group. We want it to survive. That year was a poor year.
There's still 12,100 of liabilities that aren't highlighted. So to be somewhere if you've got the assets to go with them.
Okay, I'm afraid I don't. I'm not able to answer that question. But I'd really like your help understanding how I can. And so if that's something that you can offer as an officer subsequently, that would be amazing.
Okay. Well, it also said that your accounts would be verified by an independent auditor, and that was in your original constitution. But they haven't been.
No, so you've asked for a set of signed accounts which we supplied to you, and that's as I just said, that's something that we're looking at for the financial year for things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. Do I have any other questions from the panel? Councillor Ellis.
Hi, Sarah. Sorry.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, I just have some questions around what kind of entertainment had you planned for Somerset Day, and is there going to be any? How would we? I mean, okay, people know it. Well, some people know it's Somerset Day. Some people blithely unaware it's Somerset Day. So how would we know Somerset Day as such? Coming to the each event on that day.
So for the May event, so one, there's the obvious display of Somerset flags by our traders that are from Somerset. So that there's a lot of meterage of bunting there. In previous years, the Town Council, I think, have displayed Somerset flags in the town centre as well, on your flag poles, but you don't call them flag poles, I don't think, banner positions, I think we call them. So there's that as well. We had the High Sheriff attend last year. It's not quite a character in fancy dress, but those breeches are quite something. And it's in its how we ran that event as well. So whether that's banners, on our flyers, on our advertising as well. And this event is in, we're working with Cattle for Somerset, who are the driving force behind Somerset Day. So they promote it as being the event for Somerset Day.
Oh, right, so can I, sorry, I will literally go, you'll have to stop me at some point. Can I
I
ask
will.
a question?
Yes, you can.
So would this be the biggest Somerset Day event in Somerset?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Can I have another question?
Yes.
And what would be the entertainment of
Okay.
the day?
So there's a variety because people have different needs and different wants and desires. So there's the circus skills. So we use the green space around the church. So that's all the entertainment's free. There's no charge for any of it. So that's having you go hula hooping, learning how to juggle, that kind of thing. There's scrolling characters as well. We've been successfully in other places using shop windows that aren't shops at the moment as big covering in spaces, so getting very large images produced to put on those for the day with big pots. There's the pots of chalk around the place as well. In other areas, we've worked with poets and spoken word and discussion things, and we're very happy to look at that. If that's something that's around your agenda and to see happen as well. And then there's music. So we work with the busking program that you already have in the town centre, but have additional musicians as well that come along. And again, that's not Fat Boy Slim on the beach at Brighton. That's background music that helps people have a nice day, but pockets of quiet through the festival as well.
One more.
Make it good.
Is it with, well, this might be a multiple then, because I'm not going to get another. So for the is it Fuse that you work with?
No.
Oh, right.
So we work with independent artists and performers. So that money goes directly to them, not through a third party. We don't use a booking agent.
And the music, do you have like a band? You're going to have like I'm just thinking street music, because Taunton's becoming very well known for
Yeah, so we don't have
that.
bands, because bands tend to be amplified, and amplified tends to make people stop and stand and watch. And we don't want them to do that. We want them to explore Taunton, to go in those shops and businesses and wander through the whole footprint. So we tend to have individual musicians, so a more busker style than a performance by a band. You've got a guitar.
No, I've got a saxophone, but luckily for you, it doesn't work at the moment.
I wanted to pick up on something you said about saying that we had said you understood that we didn't want you to come previous Christmas.
Yeah.
I checked with other councillors, and I'm not aware of any decision that you were asked not to come, or that you were not welcome. So I just wanted to reiterate that fact. And I know that there was a questionnaire that you'd sent to some of your traders that kind of inferred that that we were.
Yeah, can't remember his surname, Nick, and two of your council officers. At the invitation of Councillor Best at Somerset Council.
That's not Taunton Town Council. That's Somerset Council.
No, he is.
Yeah.
He offered his office. But
Okay.
It was Nick. I can't remember. Nick O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Who fed back together with officers.
Yeah.
That the December event, the Christmas event, was not popular. And that they did not want it to happen. So it is not in the calendar this year.
I have to say that's not general knowledge, and was not a ratified decision from the council.
Okay.
So apologies if that was not our decision to make.
Okay.
In that we do not license any of the activities at all. So would not from the town council.
Feedback.
Yeah.
The town council and the town that we like to work in.
Yeah.
And if you want us to paint the town blue rather than red or yellow, or then that's something that we're going to listen to and react to, and getting feedback from a member and officers that, well, we like the May event but we don't like the December event. Well, why would we try and put the December event on?
Okay.
And you're right, it is really popular, but yeah, we reacted to the feedback we were given.
Okay. Councillor Strauss, you look like your hand's about to go up. I think possible final question from you, and then.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify, are you saying that we wouldn't have an opportunity to consider the December event?
It would be quite difficult for this year. We could look at that. At the moment, Dawlish is sat on that date. But we've got a very different problem with Dawlish, that South West Water has just decided to dig up pretty much the entirety of Dawlish from here. So that there are a few unknowns. We're very happy to look at that if, as your chair has directed me, that is something that you'd like us to look at. Whether that's with or without support, that's not what I'm asking for a commitment or nodding or shaking on. But if you like the December event, or a Christmas event, it can be in November or December, then that's something that, of course, we would look at again.
So yeah, just to clarify that per se, we're not against the Eat Festival coming to Taunton in any shape or form. It's just a question of whether we financially are able to support that. That's fine. Councillor Isaacs.
Thank you, Chair. Just had a comment really. I had spoken to Councillor O'Donnell today and he was in great favour of your application this evening, so I can't say that you know there's some miscommunication there somewhere. Just want to make that comment. Thank you.
Is everyone happy that we have all the information that we need to deliberate? I think so. Thank you very much for coming to present, and we did give you a bit of a grilling, so thank you very much for answering all our questions. Councillor Strauss.
Just one very quick question. As you know, as things stand at the moment, there's only £733 left in the sponsorship budget. Now, we obviously have to decide what happens with the other monies, but if at the end of the day there's just £732, is that acceptable to you, or do you need the full grant?
Any support towards making Eat Taunton financially viable would be most welcome. Yes, we will cut our cloth to suit, but yes.
That's all I wanted to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming, and you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to go and enjoy the rest of your evening. I know you've got a drive to get home again. In which case we will dart back to Richard to discuss the Go Create application, which would have been item 11 on the agenda. So this is to consider a general grant application for £2,581 from Go Create CLC for core funding to continue their operations of supporting Taunton residents through wellbeing workshops, festivals and raising awareness of climate change. Members to note that according to the application, without the grant, Go Create may cease to invest on operations application. And this is very much for core funding rather than specific project work. Richard, did you have any supplementary things to present, or are you just happy to take questions from the panel? Sure. Does anyone have any questions on this application for Richard? I have to say it was fairly straightforward. Obviously, you are a director of Go Create. You are also obviously heavily involved with Kikik,
Yeah.
Who are the landlords for Go Create.
Yeah.
Is that correct? And we have given a substantial grant to Kikik in this financial year for the venue, through the venue grants. As the landlord for Go Create, and bear in mind this is core costs, which includes rent. Is there any leeway to use funding that we gave Kikik to support Go Create in this situation?
I think that question came up before, and clarifying as a landlord, we have a contract with Sunset Council who own the building, and we basically manage that space and spaces on behalf of the residents, which includes Sunset Youth Trust, Youth Theatre, and State Trust, a whole range of arts organisations which predominantly are focused on youth provision. So the funding that Kikik had was to support the ongoing administration and support and subsidy of those spaces. All the costs that are in the Great application here are those are actual costs that we have to pay the council. So there's no wiggle room. They're actually they don't include any kick funding. There's no double funding.
It's just worth clarifying that, as I'm aware that it's like a multi-level arrangement. We are being recorded, so nothing is off the records. Perhaps save that for a different forum, but I appreciate your point. Yes, it's difficult situations for all of us, but the landscape is difficult for everybody in that particular space. Do we have any other questions from the panel on Belvedere's application? If not, I say the information was fairly detailed on that application. That was the main point I wanted to clarify.
Just presently generating projects to just hold their position till December. Where there is November is a 6-month full cost application.
And you're aware that is essentially that is the shortfall between now and the next batch of funding. Thank you very much. In which case, if there's no further questions, I'll say thank you very much, and thank you for representing them. Appreciate the extra time you took. You're free to go. I'll move on to discussing the other applications in the order. So going back to the original start of the agenda, the original item 6, which was at 2K Theatre's application. This is to consider a general grant application from at 2K Theatre towards a capital project for £1,275 to install an air conditioning unit within the building. Members should note, if they cannot install the air conditioning unit, they will no longer be able to continue the lease on their current premises. Councillor Strauss.
Thank you, Chair. On a point of order, under item 13 of their form, please list any Taunton Town Councils associated with your group. They've got my name. Now, I have no connection with this particular group. I want to clarify that. I have booked the premises on behalf of various organisations, but that is all. And I certainly have no financial interest or any other interest. I'd just like that noted. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. I'm assuming it's more of a social connection rather than any business or trustee related activity. Thank you. Any questions on the actual project itself to supply the air conditioning unit? I'm aware that we've given them a previous grant before to go towards lighting and bar area to make the space more functional and to allow them to, I think, offer training projects and experience for people to come do lighting projects. So this is separate from that. It's a new financial year, so they are eligible to apply for this. But if there's no other questions, I think again, Councillor Isaacs.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just another point to add on to Councillor Strauss there. We do have meetings in that as a collective of our party we're aligned to. So I just wanted to make that known that it's we do have an interest in that.
No, I appreciate that. Obviously, it users of the space, but not not connected to the organisation.
Yes.
That's right.
Just like to add to that, there are many organisations in the town who use those premises now. They provide a very valuable service, and I don't want anything to take away from the validity of their application on those grounds.
Yeah, I'm aware it's essentially a peppercorn rent for them to have the building, but the conditions are that they have to maintain, upkeep, and do everything needed to make it a sort of a usable space. So this is the bit that's essential to continue to make it a usable space as a community facility. Okay, well, let's say I'm going to be making all the decisions at the end, but if you're happy to move on, I think that's fine. Item 7 on the agenda was the application from 2BU Somerset, and whilst I will continue to chair the discussion, I won't be making any representation or voting on this at the end, as I am a trustee of this particular charity. But the application for members to consider a general grant application for £2,500 from 2BU Somerset to expand their one-to-one support services for LGBTQ+ young people within Taunton. I'm throwing it open to the panel for any discussion that you would like to have amongst yourselves. Councillor Ellis.
No, yeah, I mean, I obviously know what this entails because my child has benefited from it, and it's just to say how important that is outside of the group meetings and everything, that a lot of time is spent on the one-to-one. Child has a, young person has a crisis and they need somebody to talk to. And sometimes that'll be, I'll see Lisa walking around the park with somebody, or sometimes they do it in a different venue, but it's just to say from personal experience in my own family how crucial that is, and it might even save a few lives on occasion. So there's going to be unmet demands, so anything we can do to expand access to those vital services, I think it's money very well spent.
Is there anything else we'd like to contribute to Councillor Ellis's thoughts? Otherwise, if you're all happy with the information in the application, thank you very much. We will move on to item 8, which is the application from AKA Dance Theatre. Members to consider a general grant application for £2,500 from AKA Dance Theatre for the delivery of 2 performances of Shed 8 at Taunton Library on Tuesday, the 5th of August 2025, for young families living in Taunton with low access to creative activities. Do I have any questions or comments from the panel? Councillor Ellis.
Comment. I haven't seen the full that particular Shed 8 yet. I've seen kind of the fag end of it at or festival or something, but just to say, because they did a thing, one of their previous productions for Taunton Home Ed, and it was just spellbinding, the engagement of the young people and how inspiring it was. And they kind of went home and was, doing their own sort of AKA dance theatre style stuff. It's very, very appealing. It is very, very accessible, and it is the sort of thing that will inspire young people a lot. And I also think they're using it. I think they're using it as, if we were to fund this as well, it would also back up a potential Arts Council application. So there's that to bear in mind as well. So they can do more of this. So it's a very accessible, very appealing, very, they're very innovative, but they just engage so well with children and young people.
My main thoughts on this were that it's just quite a large spend for 2 performances, which will be for a relatively small number of people. I think their estimate for the number of people who'll be watching it maybe a little bit ambitious, given I assume it's going to be in the glass box space, which doesn't have a huge capacity. So their estimate of between 100 and 500 people, maybe a little bit on the high side. Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, because it's a shed. It's literally like a shed. The shed moves, and I'm imagining they might take over the library, the body of the library, because there's a bigger, I don't know.
Can.
Well, you kind of can, because you've got that big area, the exhibition area. Mm-hmm. You've got actually quite a big space in there, but I don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, I totally get the cost involved, because if you're actually going to reimburse people for the time rehearsing and the actual performance, what I mean, that is what it will cost. So those costs don't surprise me at all.
Obviously, there's a breakdown of costs. A lot of it is time, performance time, and rehearsal time. That's pretty much it's pretty much all staff staff time for the creatives involved. I appreciate that does cost, but just in terms of the actual numbers involved, that was my only thought on that really, and the fact that they have not applied to anywhere else. Whilst this might provide seed funding, potentially. There's no inferences this actually is for match funding. The budget would purely be for this event, so I'm unclear as to how that would unlock the Arts Council bid, unless it's a kind of proof of concept. But they haven't applied to anyone else to match fund this particular project. Just something to bear in mind for our deliberations.
I just comment, I'm not that fussed about that. I mean, where are all these people with deep pockets and organisations throwing cash at arts and culture? They don't exist, it's us, basically.
Take your points. I'm just trying to be as someone's got to be hard-nosed. Unfortunately, I'm in the chair position, and we don't. Unfortunately, we ourselves don't have bottomless pockets either. So it's just trying to scrutinise as much as possible for each application that comes in. Unless anyone else has got any other questions or comments on that application, again, the breakdown of the costs was very detailed. Okay, on to what was item 10, which was Fuse performance. Members to consider a general grant application for £2,485 from Fuse Performance to help to deliver workshops for young people to help them to develop skills and create art. So this is particularly benefiting the Halcon ward, although there will be a Taunton-wide benefits as well, but the principal focus will be in Halcon. The application does go into a lot of detail as to the exact project and the various different groups they're working with.
Yeah, no, just to say, I think this is a really important one because it's that professional training, giving those young people access to really good, professional sort of mentoring and opportunities to actually create content. And I do know that people from who attend Fuse workshops, some of them do go on, they actually become performers. So for many people, this could be a sort of, like make them realise, oh my God, I can actually do this later for a living, or maybe I should want to go on and train. So I think it's quite crucial.
And this is one where I think, this does have a considerable reach in terms of the number of people that this will actually benefit, and Councillor Strauss.
They do mention Halcon ward, as you know, Chair. I'm one of the two councillors. We are one of the poorest wards in the whole of the southwest. And, the work they do is very valuable. Just like to put that on record.
Any more questions or comments on the Fuse application? Again, it is incredibly detailed, so for anybody watching at home, it's not for lack of interest, it's because they've provided most of the information that we need already in their application. Otherwise, if you're happy to move on, okay. Skipping ahead, we've looked at Go Create. So item 12 on the agenda was the Taunton Deane Horticultural and Floricultural Society, also known as Taunton Flower Show. Members to consider a general grant application for £2,500 from the Taunton Deane Horticultural and Floricultural Society for the delivery of Taunton Flower Show to keep activities within the show free for children. Councillor Ellis.
I was scratching my head when I saw this because aren't they one of the annual events that we were going to shift, that we're shifting money to community services to fund? So I'm like, I don't understand why they're on the agenda, because we've already kind of decided that we want to support Flower Show just out of a different budget line.
Yeah, I think there was an overlap in the decision to apportion that money over to the community in place, but this application had already been received. But we can decide to recommend this to community in place committee and decline from here, but recommend that they fund the same application, but through a more managed process.
Okay.
Okay, so in that case, I will move on from that, and we'll bear that in mind when we come to make our budget deliberations. Application 13, also item 13, grant application from the YMCA Taunton. Members to consider a general grant application for £10,000 from YMCA Taunton for a capital project to purchase items to furnish their new multi-purpose spaces for young people. But it should be noted that our policy does state that our grants are normally, unless in exceptional circumstances, capped at £2,500, which is what I would recommend in the situation. But I'm aware, and they are aware that that is the case, but have still opted to apply for the full amount of the project that they're working on. Do I have any questions or comments? Councillor Ellis.
Comment, because I went with Gibbs doing tea at the Christmas thing, and I had a bit of a tour, just because they said, oh, do you want to have a look around? And I hadn't had a proper tour before, and my goodness, there's so much that goes on there. It was really quite impressive, and the level of community engagement, not just with young people, but the whole community. And the fact they have a community pantry, which is quite regular, because I'm always sharing their thing on social media where they've got all this these groceries in, and you can pick up as 10 tons of it for like a few quid or something. So they were explaining, because you could see, you know, one half of the thing was all covered, so that they're having this big redevelopment. But the DCMS money covers that, and it's covered a part-time sort of person up until the end of March. Then, bada boom, it's all spent. So they'll have the new facility, but they won't have anything to put in the new facility, so they won't therefore be able to make proper use of the new facility and do all the things they want to do. So this is very nuts and bolts, very practical, bringing that facility alive, so that people from the poorer parts of Taunton and all over really, but especially Holford and places, that they can actually then open it up and provide really good experiences and all sorts of activities in there. So this is nuts and bolts, belt and braces stuff that will benefit a lot of people. Very practical. You need chairs, you need tables, you need stuffing bags, you need sofa, you just need, and the cooking equipment as well. They've got like a little sort of air garden, well, it's not that little, a whole sort of garden area, and so they're just asking for practical stuff so that you can actually then, you grow the stuff, you cook the stuff, and they can do cookery stuff in there, which would be brilliant.
And we refused a grant application from them in a previous year, because that was at the time they had just received the DCMS money, and I think we decided it was inappropriate at that stage. But I appreciate now that that money is purely for the capital project, for the actual building renovation and upgrade. So this is a slightly different situation now. Councillor Strauss.
Thank you, Chair. I think we're all agreed it's a very worthy project. My only concern is, have they got the opportunity to apply for this sort of funding elsewhere? Is Taunton Town Council the only place they can raise the money? If it is, then I'm fully in support of it. I'm just raising that as a point.
Just looking through to double check who else they are. Fine too. Apologies, it's a very long form.
I can take that.
Yes.
Yeah, in their application, they said that they weren't going to apply to any other organisations for this particular
Yeah, for this particular one. I
Piece
know
of
they've put down, how do you intend to raise the funds for the remaining costs? Additional grant applications, fundraising activities, corporate and public donations, but they're not applications that have been made
Yes.
yet.
Yes.
Right, councillor F.
Yeah, no, when I was at the Christmas do, I had a chat with them and they were saying, you know, we're thinking maybe they should do a children in need application. So I think they're constantly, anything that comes on their radar, they will apply for. So it's not like they're going to be sat on their, you know, backsides just thinking, oh, just run an application to Taunton Town Council. But I think it would be really nice if we could help them out with this, because there's bound to be other stuff as well. Quite apart from, I mean, first of all, they've got to get it kitted out, and then they've got to find a way to carry on sort of engagement and increase the level of activities that go on there. So they're going to need money from, more money from us probably in future and from other sources.
I'm aware that this could be seed funding for those applications that they'll make in the future, but just looking at the figures, over 19,000 interactions with young people, over 16,000 community engagements. The figures are absolutely outstanding. So in terms of impact, the amount of money, it's quite impressive. It sounds like everyone, have you got any more questions or comments? Just reading the mood in the room on that one. So that, I think, is all of the that's all the applications that we've had. So we can move on to apportioning funds. And thank you, Will, for we spent some time going through a scoring chart in terms of which particular boxes all the organisations ticked to see who ranked the highest in terms of all the criteria that we looked for. I think everyone has been given a copy of that. So we should have a spreadsheet. Do you have a copy of the spreadsheet? No. Oh, sorry. In which case I will have to shout out information. I'm just looking across to see, well, did we have a total for the amount that had actually applied for in this and the recommended?
Yes, it was amount applied for.
Oh, yeah.
26,341 pounds.
Yeah, so considerably more we have available for us, which obviously is reduced down considerably. If we reduce the YMCA grant application from 10,000 down to the 2,500, that's that adjusted the money considerably. I'm just trying to, there's a lot of numbers on this piece of paper. I'm just trying to find the actual amount that we have left. So to remind us, we have £19,444 left in the various pots. 732 of that was in the sponsorship pot, and just under 19,000 in the small grants. If I read out the suggestions, was that sorry, it's been a very, very long day, so bear with me a second while I try and work out the best way to do this again. So at 2K applied for 1,275. Go through one by one. I'll make a suggestion based on the amount available to us. Yeah.
So, on the basis of general grants now being augmented by the 2,500 from the small grants.
Yeah.
But the issue about Taunton Windfest, I couldn't open one of the docs on the thing, so I don't know how much they had to spend upfront, and if there's any money could even potentially come back to us from that. Are we just kind of forgetting about that for now in terms of this grant round? And if there is any money to come back, that would have to go into next year. Is that the thinking? I mean, I'm not sure if there is any money that can come back to us, because I imagine that. I don't know. Is that irrelevant, that the Winterfest scenario?
No, but
We're reserved the right to request the full amount should we want to.
would you prefer to discuss that first before we make the decision on allocating budget?
if there's any useful information, because I just think if you're organising like that, I don't know how that works, and there was one document I couldn't access, and I'm thinking maybe there was information in that document that I haven't read that tells me, well, there's no, they had to spend X, so there's no way that's coming back, because that had to be spent,
Yeah.
but X, or, you know what I mean, that.
I'm just trying to open the document with the grant report. I is struggling to open it as well. Do you have a copy of that and grant report available? Yes. So it's struggling to open it. It's a message rather than a document, so my device isn't opening it. While we're waiting for that to be opened, I'm just aware that this money, the money that we allocated, we might have allocated £7,000 for the event. Obviously, the event didn't happen, but it didn't happen at a very short notice. So it very much depends on whether the organisation has had to spend that money in good faith on services already provided, which is frequently the case with events. Councillor Isaacs, actually, you waved a hand just now.
Yes, thank you, Chair. There is 8 attachments on an email, 8 PDF attachments on the email there, so it would take a while probably to look through the whole thing. But it is taking a while to open up at this time. Thank you.
For those watching at home who are experiencing technical difficulties accessing the information.
Yeah, I've got their expenditure here.
Okay, if you've got the figures, are you happy to run through the expenditure on the end of grant report?
Yeah. So they spent a total of £3,702.06, covering things like Santa for hire, website hosting, road closures. That was their biggest expense, and a singer as well.
Effective, it's dominantly upfront expenses that they can't recoup either in terms of road closure fees and so on. But that, what's the balance? Because they were awarded £7,000, so the balance would be
£3,421.17.
So that is the balance that was unspent for the event. I propose that seems like a reasonable amount to request back from the organisers of the event. I would not propose that we ask them to pay back the money that was spent in good faith. Alice?
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. Bearing in mind, we're going to only vote on requesting it back. We won't actually have the money. So actually, we won't be able to just assume, oh, X will be coming in from blah, we'll just bung it, we can't top the budget up tonight, can we? So
No.
actually, it would probably be for, my practically thinking for next year, it would go into.
Yeah.
Like,
But whilst we're on that agenda item, I am proposing that we request the £3,420.17, if that is the correct balance of unspent funds.
3297.94.
Sorry, that figure isn't appearing on the sheet, but Rob is showing me. Could you just clarify the amount that is the balance of unspent funds?
Yeah, so their total income, because they had an extra £212 worth of income, so their difference is £3,510. But from what we've been given, it would be that minus the £212
Yeah.
£50. So 3297.94.
Logic would dictate, so they're on our list of ones that we want to fund from the community, I'll get the right name now, community place thing.
Yeah.
So there is an argument that they could hang on to that and receive less this year, or does it? No,
No.
it isn't, it
No, we
happens.
have to
Oh, right.
request and then it's a separate, yeah, we don't allow them to add it to the fund. It's whether we ask back the additional income that they generated on top of the grant funding as an offset, or just the grant funding and allow them to keep the £200.
The expenditure left being.
Yeah.
More than. The expenditure from the rest of the grant.
I have the accounts professional next to me. So is that the £3,020? Okay, back to the original figure. So the balance of available funds should be £3,420.17. In which case, on the advice of Gail, I will propose that as the figure that we asked the Winterfest organisers to return to us. If I had a seconder for that proposal, Councillor Strauss, all those in favour? Thank you very much. But as pointed out, realistically, that money is not currently available to us, so we can't allocate it at the moment. But it would go into the grants or sponsorship pot for the next financial year. Having taken that slight detour and just clarified exactly how much money we have to allocate now. As I said, if we start with the YMCA, because that's the most straightforward application in terms of reducing the overall request. They've asked for £10,000. I would move to reduce that to the £2,500 cap that we would normally apply in this instance.
Second that.
Councillor Ellis is looking very thoughtful.
Doesn't it depend on how the figures break down overall? Because they wouldn't apply for the higher, and we could have,
Yeah.
depending on how much money is there.
Okay.
Because my maths is looking like there's excess, which we might want to carry over. Well, maybe we need to do the math if we were minded to.
There's still an overall deficit if we allowed everyone to have exactly what they asked for. One by one then. At 2K Theatre, applied for £1,275. What I would like everyone to do is agree in principle as we go through and then vote en bloc for a full package at the end. But we will take an agreement as we go for each one. And if we get to the end and there isn't enough money, then we have to reconsider. So at 2K is 1,275. So in principle, was everyone happy for that amount to be allocated to that grant? A show of hands to say yes. Thank you. And so we will officially vote at the end. To the youth Somerset, I've applied for £2,500. Was everyone, oh, I'm abstaining from this particular decision, was everyone in principle happy to award the full amount? Aside from myself, that was unanimous with, well, 3 yeses, 1 abstention. AKA Dance Theatre, again, they applied for £2,500 for their dance project. Was everyone in principle in favour of awarding the full amount for that project? The Kick It had applied for £2,500 for the poetry project. Was everyone in principle in favour of awarding the full amount? Fuse Performance had asked for £2,485. Was everyone in principle in favour of awarding the full amount? Councillor Strauss, are you abstaining from that? I didn't see a hand raised for Fuse. You're in favour, perfect. Thank you. Go Create had asked for £2,581. I'm advocating that we again cap that, take off £81, and let's use pedantic, but to cap that at the £2,500 that we would normally apply in this situation. All those broadly in favour of allocating £2,500 to Go Create. Councillor Strauss?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I've got you here. So this is the bit that actually makes the matter a little bit clearer, I think, because the Taunton Flower Show had asked for £2,500. However, and this was included in the figures at the moment, we had moved to allocate that budget to the next year's budget to the community in place, which would cover next year's flower show. So we could move to not grant this particular grant on the understanding that they will be supported to the tune of a similar amount by the community in place committee in April, ready for this year's flower show. And obviously they can discuss strategically with the organisers the fact that that budget will be available to them. So all those in favour of not allocating money to the flower show in this instance. Okay. Do you have a live version of this tracker? I know this is the worst time to ask you because your computer is recording everything.
Yeah, I can
Orders there.
make one.
Okay. And then we have the YMCA who'd asked for £10,000. And again, this is where I was moving to reduce that to the cap of £2,500 in line with our policy. Councillor Alice.
I'd say at least, I then think we need to see if there's any leeway, because my figures seem to be, my maths is obviously different to whatever you've got in to be. It looks brighter on my side of the table in terms of what's there, but I might have made some wrong assumptions.
Okay.
Yeah, just coming.
I thought it's just Okay, we need to do some quick sums. Apologies.
General grants.
Yeah. So we had an additional 3,200, give or take. On top of that. So you're right, Councillor Ellis, your maths is your maths is correct. There was a slight excess. In which case we do have the facility to go create the extra £81 that they asked for. I know every little helps. They have gone to a very specific figure, so in that case we could allocate the £2,581 to go create. Yes, that's
So cheeky ask, can you, this is just me hypothesising, and I might as well ask it now. Could you give something more than what we've asked for?
there would be no evidence base if you were to allocate my increased funding in this particular circumstance. And remember, any funds that aren't allocated do get rolled over to next year, so they're not wasted. There is no use it or lose it element to this. It would carry forward to next year's grants budget if it's not been in that situation before. So the only thing is either whether we allocate more money to the YMCA above our policy cap, or whether we agree to fund the Taunton Flower Show from this year's grants budget, honouring the application they made this year, allowing next year's budget to be apportioned to them earlier at the end, towards the end of the next financial year for the 2026 Flower Show, rather than waiting until April for those funds to be made available.
2,371 left. So if you put that up to 2,581.
Yeah.
Then that comes to 16,341. What was on the ballot was 2,500. That's 18,712. So that gives us 2,371 left in the general grants.
Yeah.
And there's not quite enough to.
Councillor Ellis.
I would propose you give whatever's, because my maths is telling me there's excess. Even if you've assumed YMCA and putting the flower show to one side, because I think there isn't. I don't want them to be treated differently than the others. They're not going to get their money earlier for the annual events, are they? So maybe there's an argument there. I don't know. So what I would do is I would probably spend up to whatever we've got. The YMCA stuff is for kit equipment that's probably going to be used for a very long time by a very, very large number of people. So I'd be quite relaxed about whatever whatever we've got left on top of the two that, or maybe a cap, because the biggest we've ever given, we have given like 5, but we have done stuff like to the tune of 5, rarely, I know, exceptionally, and maybe this is an exceptional thing.
I would personally feel it's not exceptional in this case, but they're very welcome to put another application in April for a second round, putting them against a fresh round of applicants. That's one opinion. We are a committee for a reason. That's Alice.
Joe, can you just give the overall total figure that we are at liberty to dispense tonight from the general grants
Yes, that, as soon as we've had a alignment from the donations, that's £18,712. What we've decided on, or what you've decided on so far, comes to £16,341, giving a surplus of £2,371.
I think under the circumstances, given the applications that we receive, it actually would be an idea to fund the Taunton Flower Show rather than not give them money and double up elsewhere. There is a vote, there will be a vote on this.
So I would vote for just spending whatever the full amount, YMCA bumping up from, so we want to give them 2,500, then add on whatever takes us up to 18,712 and stick with the thing about the flower show as being dealt with alongside Winterfest, alongside Pride and Prizewood, alongside Pride. To keep it neater, otherwise it's going to lose the plot when it comes to community services. I think community in place.
Yes. Okay. So are we all in agreement then we not refunding? You're proposing we do not fund the flower show on this round. Can I see a show of hands to support council services? Okay. We'll move that from the balance, so that's still within £2,371. Are you proposing that we allocate that now?
Yeah, why not? I want to until YMCA.
Can I have any other views on that suggestion? Councillor Isaacs.
It's difficult, Chair, really, that we'd like to spend more if we had more. We are limited by the amounts here. That would make the YMCA then £4,800, or they've asked for. It's less than half is what they've asked for, but I would go along with Councillor Ellis's proposal at this time. We still have the possibility of 3,421 back from the Winterfest, but we don't know when that might be, so we can't allocate something we haven't got. That's my opinion, and we could look at that 3,400 perhaps to our next round to top up others as we see fit at that time.
Councillor Strauss. Would allocate the remaining balance, the extra 2,371 to the YMCA, which would be 2,871 or 4,871. So it's been a long day. So just shy of half of the original application, which would leave us with a zero balance in the small grants fund. Do you want to have a proposer, or would you like me to run through those figures again and then propose them en bloc? Are you happy that I have them that have stated as we went along? The only one was that everyone was as requested, including Go Create for the full 2,581, and the only one not as requested is the Flower Show, who will be referring to the Community in Place Committee, and the YMCA will be receiving 4,871. Do I have a proposer to accept all of these proposals en bloc? Councillor Strauss. A seconder, Councillor Isaacs. All in favour of granting all of those amounts. So that is the small grants done. And then we move to the sponsorship applications, and apologies there for making you wait right till the end. Perils of having different spots available.
I appreciate the pain you go through for this, don't worry.
So we have the application for the People's Block, East Taunton, who applied for £2,029. We have £732 left currently in the sponsorship pot. So unfortunately, we cannot allocate funds that have not yet been recouped and are not there to be given out. Councillor Strauss.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to propose the £732 that's left go to EAT, or the People's Block.
Do I have a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Isaacs. All those in favour of awarding the £732? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Which I think exhausts all of our available grants pots. Well spent, everybody. It does save the bother of carrying over any additional budgets to next year, so that's one less job for Gail. Thank you very much. And so we will then move on to item 15 on the agenda. And so you're very welcome. You're welcome to stay and listen to the minutiae, or you're welcome to go home, have a nice hot chocolate, glass of gin, whatever it is, to reward yourself for the evening. Thank you very much. The item 15, the grant process. Oh, so big sigh. And thanks to Will for basically wading through and just rejigging what appears to be an ever moving process. But we, as we know, we keep coming across reasons to fine tune it and tighten things up, and things that weren't thought about when the process was first put together. Will, would you like to run through a very quick presentation on what it is you?
So essentially it was to better streamline the grants process so that it better aligns with the policy. So what I've done is created individual application forms for each individual fund, so that then they can be more bespoke and align with what we're trying to aim for with each fund. So that includes venue grants, donation grants, sponsorship, and general. There's 4 individual applications, and then a specific end of grant report for donation grants, with the aim of making that more viable for organisations to apply for in the future. This would also take place by giving delegating authority to the town clerk, so that we can process those donation grants on a quicker basis, so they don't have to wait for each individual round of funding. But yeah, essentially the entire motive behind it was so that it better aligns with the policy and works better in terms of what we're aiming to get out of those grants themselves.
Thank you very much. As I know it's taken a lot of work to put it all together. But yeah, we realised the original application form was quite cumbersome, particularly for things like the donation grants, which with the intention was that it was a much more light touch. So the original form didn't really work for that. Councillor Ellis.
Okay, so we've got 2 things missing, because I have asked Gail and Donna, I don't know when this will happen, but the 50 grand sat in youth funding, there will be a request for that to get wired back to grants for next year, to this committee, to do another round of youth grants in the new year. So this is more a will to-do list. I don't know whether we need to.
There is this, oh, that's.
So that,
no, there wasn't a separate youth grant.
That might be fine.
I did not do a separate youth grant, but that can be made upon that money being fired back into the grants process.
I thought that was a separate one, but it was the same, just in a box to tick that it was youth grant, but it wasn't a separate. form. Well spotted, councillor Ellis.
But presumably that's not a biggie, is it? Few hours work, that's about.
Should that money be agreed and should that grant be agreed, then we can. I think we.
Yeah, that form can certainly be developed.
Money in the budget next year, the arts and culture strategy, that was about core funding. Now we set up parallel venues grant. So my suggestion would be, and that has ended up going to predominantly cultural organisation. So you could make the argument that the cultural development, you could set up cultural development grants, and it would be for ones that don't have a venue, you know what I mean, that are not a venue. They're local, and you end up with what was envisaged in the arts and culture strategy of supporting a local portfolio, is that you're supporting some out of venues and some out of a pot. Does that make sense? Because I think the argument was that, and we've had, you know, that you could keep a bit back for cultural development in the things that we want to do, but the bulk of that money that's been budgeted for, because Go Create will be back, they need more money than what we're giving them tonight to kind of, you know, to do all of the things, you know, that's an example. So I think we need to set up a process for that. And the way maybe to distinguish it is, well, it has to be for culture because that's the budget heading. So cultural organisations that are key to our ecology that help deliver the arts and culture strategy specifically, but that may not be attached to a venue, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. We don't currently have that money in our budget. That is not currently on the table. So yes, we say that recommendation. So yes, we would have to recommend that. Is that, are you proposing that we make a recommendation to full council to have that money to our budget for distribution?
So that it can be stood up early in the, you know, financial year, so people know that it's there coming and then they can plan ahead of all.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that proposal? Councillor Isaacs. All in favour of making a recommendation to full council to request the arts and culture funds are transferred to us for distribution in next year's budget? All in favour of making that recommendation?
I thought I put that.
And the decision will then lie with full council as to whether that happens. Can make that happen.
Good.
Thank you. And should we get that, then that will be another form.
Yeah, I can develop the forms. Don't worry.
Just for your vanity. Otherwise, is there any other notes or comments on the grants process that has been put together? No, in that case, I would like to propose that we adopt the new forms in their current state, pending the addition in the future of more. Seconder, councillor Strauss, all in favour? That is unanimous, and thanks again for all the work that went into take place. The item 16 on the agenda was to consider Winterfest, which we already have done. And apologies to whoever is delivering the minutes on this for the slightly random way we've gone through the numbers, so apologies in advance. Item 17, Tone FM. Members to consider the delayed Tone FM project in which we granted £2,000 to Tone FM for the installation of a new FM transmitter. This project was originally expected to be completed in November to December 2023, but has been delayed by 1 year, with the work now expected to be completed by December 2024, which has now been and gone. Members to consider giving Tone FM until the end of the financial year to complete their project. Can I just check back with Will to see if there's been an update on the project since December?
I reached out for an update and they have not responded. They did initially say that their project was going to be delivered as of December, and then I've contacted them further to ask whether or not it has been completed and have not heard back.
So bear in mind, this was made, I think, in summer of 2023 or early 2023. For delivery by the end of 2023, so we're already a year beyond the date of that project. Councillor Ellis.
I'm quite relaxed about living the end of this financial year, which means end of March, because they need an FM transmitter. They're going to want to do an FM transmitter. It's just, you know, as we know with bridges, such like, you know, spanners, there's always endless. Oh, so and so about this. Oh, feasibility on this. Oh, planning on this. So it doesn't surprise me that there's been a delay, and it may get delayed further. But I do agree we need to chase them for an update. But at the moment, I'm quite comfortable about.
I feel quite strongly that we actually should be. We need to ask for this money back by the end of this financial year. If they have no concrete way of fulfilling this project, we need this money back. It is public money. It should be sat in our bank account rate earning interest rather than theirs, unfortunately. They are very welcome to reapply for this project as we go forward, when they get all their ducks in a row, because clearly they thought they were further along through this with the gestation of this project when they applied for the grants. That hasn't happened. That won't disbar them from applying for the money again in the future. But I feel that there may be, we don't know, there could be a delay of another year, in which case this money could be better spent supporting existing projects rather than sitting in their bank account. So I feel quite strongly that we should put a very, very firm deadline, and the money should be back with us for distribution from that first round of grants at the start of the financial year, if they haven't completed the project. Councillor Strauss.
And just to add to that, they have every right to apply for a grant in the next financial year.
Yeah.
You're right, it should be closed off.
So that is, I'm proposing that we ask for the money back and give them a firm deadline of returning the money by the 31st of March.
Can I just ask a question?
Councillor Ellis.
This is assuming, but if they've got it lined up to do, say, for argument's sake, we don't know, between now and the 31st of March, they can obviously spend it.
Yes. If they can either return the money or provide receipts for the spent money by the 31st of March, but that is the line in the sand for either receipts or the money to be returned. So that is my proposal. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ellis, all in favour? Thank you very much. And then finally, item 18 is feedback from previous applicants, and this is for us to note the feedback we've had from applicants. I would really like to spend some time at some point when Will has finished creating forms to have a really good look at some of the stats, do some number crunching of all of the grants that we've allocated since our inception, just to see really, you know, where it's gone, who it's gone to, how many arts organisations, how many sports organisations, how many projects affected wellbeing, all of those things, so that we can do a really good report back at our hopefully at our town, our kind of town hall event. Ideally, I think that would be a really good thing to do. You know, charts and graphs. Here's all the people that we have. So I know we have selected people who come and present, but I think it'd be really good if we could give a really good overview of all of the work that we've done, because we have helped an outstanding number of people over the last couple of years. But we've had reports back from Fuse Performance, Somerset Films, Staple Trust, Taunton Canoe Club, the Taunton Flower Show, Taunton Pride, Taunton RFC, Taunton Town Football Club. There's a lot of Taunton in here. The TYCA Arts Taunton, and the Whitmore Allotments, who I feel should put Taunton in there somewhere just to stay abreast of everyone else. But they've all submitted their end of grant reports. Do I have a proposer to note those, or if not, I should ask any questions or comments on the feedback that we've received? No. A proposer to note all of that feedback. Councillor Ellis, seconded by Councillor Strauss. All in favour? Thank you very much, and thank you to any of the grants people who might be watching for lesson and feeding back, and hope you can so put together a really good report for the annual meeting in May. So that is the end of the agenda. Thank you very much, and I will officially close the meeting.
Oof.